Tony, I know there are things you'd like to clean up. What did you see today that you liked?
Yeah, I thought our first half was good. It was really, we were sharp, made it hard for them to get good looks in the first half. And for the most part, ran our offense, touched the paint. Obviously, when guys make those shots, when Kyle gets rolling and Ty, some good things happen. Had to withstand some foul trouble and still played at a solid level. So I liked what I saw in the first half. I did. I thought we competed in the right way and had a mindset about us. You only asked what I liked, right? So I stayed there. Okay.
Tony, is Ty more offensively aggressive this year? It seems like he might be more looking for his shot.
Yeah, I think he was always pretty assertive, but I think, we need that from him. And, he's worked so hard on his game and his outside shooting and his body, all those things to get in the lane. So, no, he's played 2 real good games. And, I think offensively he seems to be assertive with, the ability to find guys. And when we got in foul trouble, I thought he looked a little more assertive on that. You go under screens, we've seen him be able to stop and shoot with range.
Tony, I think GW was 1 for 9 on threes in the first half, and they started making some in the second half. Is that something you want to look to clean up?
Yeah, no, I thought we played well in the first half, and I thought they outplayed us in the second half. They really did. They got open looks. We were sluggish, a little loose with the ball, and just got outplayed. And that was the encouraging part was how they played in the first half. It was discouraging to get kind of, I thought, out-competed and outworked. A lot of clean threes. They made some nice shots, and they out-executed us in the second half, and that's for us to be as good as we can, that shouldn't happen. And there were some opportunities for guys to get more time as the score was there, and I just thought whether it was on the glass, blocking shots, there wasn't enough fight and effort and soundness with it. And they, whatever, we allowed 40 points. They shot at one point 61% for a while in the second half. I think they ended at 56% in the second half. So it looks like they're a little bigger, Eric. So the stats are getting bigger, and I didn't bring it. But the ability to play a better quality of basketball was discouraging. So absolutely got to clean that up and keep working.
Coach, not many teams in America are going to have 2 guys who don't play most of the first half as good as Braxton and Dre and be cruising to a win. You said earlier at Media Day that you never had a team quite like this. As they start to take shape, what do you like so far? And other than just having put the starters back in after that,
we've had teams, if we get in foul trouble, that could do what this team did. This team has to keep working. It doesn't have the luxury of taking it easy and cruising, because that won't cut it as the competition goes up. And that part it raised the antenna. What I do like, as I said, is the versatility, though I didn't think we kept the ball in the second half in front. Certain individuals just got to keep working on things. We have some great strengths, and there's some areas that we've got to keep addressing, but you have some size when it's in position that can bother shots, make it hard. I feel like we should be able to rebound better with our size on the front court and even on the 3 spot. But again, everyone's capable. Teams you play, I saw what George Washington did to Stony Brook to start the game. They can really get going, and I thought we stopped that. But we got to get some more production off the bench. I think that will be important.
Yeah, Kyle looked kind of unselfish in the first game, looked a little bit more assertive today. Did you say anything to him?
Yeah.
How is there a fine line there?
Yeah, I think it is. It's we always want Kyle to hunt. You've heard me say this, hunt the shot. And then, you let us tell you if it's a bad shot. Sometimes if it's a quick pass and you're falling away and a hand in the face, you have to discern that. But his ability to move hard and get squared up and the guys to get him open and play off, that's important. And I thought he was much in a better place in terms of how he was looking to get set up and get his looks or his shots this game than the first game. So I really like that. And again, we touched the paint and he slid across the top, and I thought that was important for us. I think teams will certainly try to lock on to Kyle and Ty, and the other guys will have to make some adjustments, but I always want Kyle looking aggressively for his shots.
Coach, I spoke with Grant Kersey last week, and he mentioned to me how you surprised him with his jersey before the season opener. Was there something you saw to Grant that convinced you to add him to the home roster?
Well, I think I actually was impressed with that crafty move at the end. He didn't want to stat the turnover, so he gives it to Jaden with 3 seconds left, so the turnover goes to either Jaden or a team turnover. So crafty play. I think it's that craftiness that I like. Grant is a great story because he came in as a manager, and our managers kind of sometimes they're banging around with our guys, almost semi-practice players, and he's just worked. And I thought it was time. And then, fortunately, we've had a couple games where we've had a big enough lead where you want to get some guys off and avoid injury and get other guys minutes and then reward a true servant. I always talk about our managers are great. They just give. And so when you can reward that, and he's worked hard, and he's a pretty good player. He's a good high school player. He's quick. Still working in the weight room. We're going to keep working on that. We got to get the smaller jersey, but he's a joy to have out there, and to see him knock down those 2 free throws with no problem and then slide the ball off so he didn't get the turnover is well done.
And so he's going to dress for all the home games. Is this something that you've done with your managers in the past?
Malik Frazier we did it with. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, no, at times guys have come in and have kind of progressed and earned that spot. We did it with Malik. I can't remember. I'm sure there's – what Trey Gross actually was, he got squared away for a semester, or was it a year? And then, so we have done it with a couple guys.
Hey, Tony, you mentioned the foul trouble today with Dre and Braxton. I think in the first game there was foul trouble early too with a couple guys. Is that going forward something you got to remind your guys to watch out for?
Yeah. Early in the season you have to get a feel for what the rules emphasis is, how the officials are instructed to call it, whether it's hand checking, and that's why we're a position defensive team that tries to be in the right spot and play without our hands and block out without our hands and hooks. So that's important. Yeah, those guys we had 3 guys with 2 fouls, right? And so that's way everyone has to be ready. But early on, getting a feel for that's important. And we didn't do a good job adjusting. I'll watch the film and see, where if it was a tendency or if it was just a couple different things.
Tony, you mentioned the jersey. Will there be one for Kersey that doesn't look like a dress after a major weight loss program that actually has his name on the back?
Hey, we let's just start with what he's got, all right, and earn the rest. As Coach Mendenhall would say, earned not given. So he's earned the one. He's got to earn a smaller jersey well, we gave him a number. I guess I'm much more gracious than Coach Mendenhall. I gave him the number, but he's still got to earn the name on the back and the right size. That's coming.
Tony, Jay's gotten a lot of time in the last 2 games.
Yep.
How can you use him in these early games to bring him along a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to need this. There's 10 guys that are eligible to play, or scholarship guys that are available, and so Jay can do some things offensively. He can bother some shots. I want him to keep challenging him to, rebound and play as big as he can and fight for position. But as we've talked about, the flashes are there with the skills, and so there are going to be times, certainly, whether it's foul trouble or it's just the right matchup or he's going, that he can help us. So invaluable minutes. That's why I was a little discouraged where I think it was 7-8 minutes, and they got a rebound, put it back. We had a turnover. They scored, and I just put the starters back in. I want them to approach those minutes because I wanted them to hang on and get all those minutes and develop. Those are so valuable. I know the crowd wants to see Grant come in and some of the other guys, but I want those guys to fight for execution and purpose in that regardless of the score, and that didn't happen, and that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth for their opportunities to grow and for being outplayed in the second half.
Coach Jack took 5 shots today, short-armed a couple, but was obviously more aggressive on that end of the court.
But he made 2 free throws, too.
He did. Yes. He also made 2 free throws. Is that something that was what he saw presented from GW today, or is this something that is being worked on specifically for adding the Jack?
Yeah, tenacious worker. He's worked hard on his free throws. I think that one that he short-armed you mentioned in the second half, that was a power dribble, and he was either laying it in. But he's was a guy when he first came to where he is now has just improved. And, Jack knows who he is. And if he ever steps outside of that, it doesn't mean we're going to throw it in, you're going to work, wheeling and dealing. But if you get deep position, he's worked hard. Those are valuable baskets. So I was elated to see him make those plays and then step to the free throw line. And I just know his spirit and his tenacity is something that this team needs from a physical standpoint, and he provides that.